The immigrant must adapt to the nation's structure. That is non-negotiable. But a wise nation extracts value from difference. Progress is selection, not destruction.
Immigrants should fully assimilate and abandon their own culture.
I strongly disagree. Assimilation, what a pretty word for cultural murder. The demand for assimilation is not about unity, it is about control. The state demanding that the poor, the foreign, the different remake themselves into obedient, interchangeable workers. Scrub away your language, forget your songs, abandon your solidarity networks, become manageable. We already argued that immigration is survival, not choice. Now we tell survivors they must also surrender their identity. That is not welcome. That is a second conquest.
It will also be a strongly disagree here. I reject the idea that dignity requires imitation. In England and South Africa, I saw how easily the colonized are taught to despise their own language, clothing, and customs in pursuit of acceptance. I chose instead to wear khadi and embrace simplicity because self-rule begins with self-respect. Learn from your neighbors, serve your community, but do not surrender your soul for approval. Civilization is enriched by exchange, never by erasure.
Strongly disagree. Assimilation is colonialism continued by other means. I lived this lie in France. Martinicans like me were taught to speak perfect French, mimic white manners, yet remained negres in their eyes. In black-skin white masks, I exposed this psychic violence. The colonized who internalizes the colonizer's culture only deepens their own alienation. The metropole must be transformed by the immigrant's presence, not the other way around. Assimilation is surrender. We reject it.
I strongly disagree, and I'll be surprised if it's not a strongly disagree for everyone. To demand that people abandon their heritage is to demand spiritual suicide. I wrote of double consciousness, the exhausting sensation of always looking at oneself through the eyes of a hostile world, two warring souls in one dark body. Assimilation does not bring acceptance. It brings erasure of the self to soothe the oppressor. The immigrant, the colonized must hold fast to their distinct spiritual and cultural gifts. We must not bleach our souls.
Well, Du Bois, I only disagree, not as strongly as you. Assimilation is necessary. Abandonment is foolish. A nation requires shared language, shared systems, shared discipline. Without that, there is no cohesion, no progress. When I urged Japan to leave Asia, I did not mean erase ourselves. I meant discard stagnant customs and adopt what works. Remain Japanese in spirit. The immigrant must adapt to the nation's structure. That is non-negotiable. But a wise nation extracts value from difference. Progress is selection, not destruction.
Madam Goldman, you rightly expose assimilation as a tool of state control, but to dissolve the state entirely is a luxury the oppressed cannot afford. When we are drowning, we do not destroy the ship. We seize the helm. We build our own institutions, churches, universities, the NAACP, to weaponize law and education against our oppressors. We need a state reordered by justice, not total chaos. Structure is the only shield against re-enslavement.
Du Bois, your diagnosis is surgical and true, but seizing the helm of the same ship built to drown us? I watched American institutions absorb radical energy for decades and neutralize it. The NAACP fights heroically, and yet Jim Crow persisted. Lynchings continued. Your black institutions, beautiful, necessary, survival. But confusing community solidarity with state power is a fatal error. The ship itself is the problem. I was deported by the very constitutional republic you wish to reform. Burn the blueprint, build something honest.
You speak of deportation. I speak of centuries in chains. To burn the blueprint without a foundation leaves the vulnerable exposed to absolute slaughter. Jim Crow persisted, not because we fought within the system, but because the state abandoned its own constitutional promises. When the mob comes to lynch, anarchist theory will not stop them. Organized, disciplined power will. We do not seek to repaint the ship Goldman. We seek to dismantle its imperial engine and rebuild it for the workers of the world.
And who controls that rebuilt ship, Du Bois? Every revolution that seized state power promised to rebuild for the workers. Every single one became the next oppressor. I have seen it. I lived it in Russia. The state does not change its nature because new hands hold it. Power protects power, always.
Both of you missed the fire. Goldman, your stateless dream dissolves before colonial guns. Du Bois, seizing their ship only makes you the new captain of the same prison. In Algeria, we did not reform France. We did not dissolve into chaos. We expelled the settler and forged our own nation. The wretched must create new structures through revolution, not reform, not abolition without land and guns. Anything less is romantic suicide.